What is going on YouTube? Running Gun Sports back here with another video. Today is our NFL weekly news update. We just released our Bengals off-season review, so if you've not checked that out already, please do. We talked a lot about Joe Burrow and the future of the Bengals in their 2020 season, what went wrong, what they can do to have a better 2021 season, and it's a lot of fun to talk about the Bengals, and I think that they're going to have a pretty good future coming up, and it's talked about what moves they should make in the draft. So if you've not already, please go check that out, and any of our other team reviews. We've done the entire NFC South and the NFC East, so if you're a fan of any of those teams, please go check those out. They are all in one playlist, so it should be pretty easy for you to find. College football weekly news video will be releasing Tuesday on Tuesday, and will have coverage of the Florida State Seminoles spring game and the Alabama Crimson Tide spring game. So look forward to that. And with that being said, let's get right in the video. So follow our socials at @runningun_sports on Instagram and @runningunsports on TikTok, and let's get right into the video. The Arizona Cardinals have signed running back James Conner to a 1-year, $1.75 million deal with $1.25 million guaranteed. In 2020, James Conner had 169 rushing attempts, 721 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And James Conner came out of Pittsburgh, and he's a great story himself. He was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, I believe. He had a form of cancer, and the fact that he's here even in the NFL today is still remarkably crazy, and it's so cool. But he has not had the greatest years. His rookie season was a very good season. These have not been his greatest years, and I just think it's the Steelers' type of offense. They like to pass the ball a lot, and when he was at Pittsburgh, he was the star of that team, Pittsburgh being his college. But on the Steelers, they like to pass the ball a lot, and I think that's just not the type of running back he needs to be. And those type of rushing attempts, just looking at 169 rushing attempts, is very similar to a guy like Chris Carson who plays for the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks are way more of a pass-only team. Not pass-only, but a more pass-orientated team. And so that's why I think that him on the Cardinals, they're not really a run-orientated team, but they're more of a balanced team, I'd say, and it adds depth to a lack of depth running back room that the Cardinals have with Kenyon Drake leaving this year to the Las Vegas Raiders. And so I think it's a good move for the Cardinals. They're going to be a very complete team next year. They've made some great offseason moves, signing some veterans, J.J. Watt, A.J. Green, James Conner, and they're going to have a good team. And they were just short of making the playoffs last year by just about a game, really, and didn't make it. And if Kyler Murray can stay healthy, I don't think they'll have a problem making the playoffs. And their defense last year gave some teams and some elite offenses some fits. The Buffalo Bills, man, that was one of the best games of the season. The Hail Murray, I mean, wow, just a great game. I could talk about that game forever. But with that being said, it will be fun to see what the Cardinals do next season and if they can crack the playoffs or win the NFC West title. After being pursued by both the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers, Giovanni Bernard has signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In 2020, Giovanni Bernard had 124 rushing attempts, 416 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Giovanni Bernard's a very old player, and I think that even though he's quite old, it's an interesting move for sure for the Buccaneers. I don't think it's a bad move. I don't think it's a great move. I think it's below. If I could rate this move on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it about a 4, or a scale of 1 to 5, about a 2. It's more of a bad move than it is a good move. It's quite the only reason I say that is because the money is a factor, and I think that that's not too big of a factor, but also it is a factor at the same time. So if that makes any sense, I just think that they could have used the money in a different spot is basically what I'm trying to say. And they already have 2 above average running backs, playoff Lenny, and so Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones are both very good players if they are healthy, which they both struggle, which is nice for Giovanni Bernard coming in, probably be the 3rd string running back with that. And so if one of those guys goes down, it'll be a great backup option for them for sure. The Cincinnati Bengals have signed former LSU teammate of Joe Burrow, Thadeus Moss. In 2019, Thadeus Moss with the LSU national championship season had 47 receptions, 570 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Thadeus Moss, son of Randy Moss, former NFL great and Hall of Famer, had he was a transfer from NC State, came in, played with the LSU team, who people argue is the greatest college football team of all time. I don't think it's the greatest college football team of all time. I think it's one of the all-time greats, that is for sure. They were a great college football team. The defense was there, the offense was there. They had so many players selected in the draft. It's going to be interesting to see how those guys pan out, even though just because this was only a season ago. Joe Burrow played 9.5 games, 2,600 passing yards, and 13 touchdowns. Just a great rookie season for him. Unfortunately, his season was cut short due to a tear in the ACL, and that's why in this upcoming NFL draft, I think that they really need to select Penei Sewell with the 5th overall pick. And a lot of people want them to take Ja'Marr Chase, also former teammate of Joe Burrow, the star receiver of that team, him and Justin Jefferson. But I honestly think that it's not I don't think that would be a good move. I think it would be an okay move, but I think that if they're really invested in Joe Burrow, which I know they are for signing Thadeus Moss, not many tight ends, especially undrafted free agent tight ends, get signed just in the middle of the offseason like this at the beginning of the league year. And so that's why it really just shows you how invested they are, and for sure they should be. Joe Burrow, I think, is the franchise quarterback for the Bengals if he can stay healthy, hopefully. And I think that the Bengals are showing a lot of faith in him, and I think that's good. But if they really want him to be their franchise quarterback and not have an injury like last year happen to him, Penei Sewell is the answer to that. If he's around with the 5th pick, I think that that's got to be the pick for them to go for him. And all signs point for a yes for me for them picking Penei Sewell. And if they don't pick Ja'Marr Chase, I think that really Terrace Marshall with the 36th overall pick will most likely still be around. This is a stacked receiver class. It's just, you could go on and on naming these guys. Rashad Bateman, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Ja'Marr Chase, Terrace Marshall, just so many players coming out of this draft class, Kyle Pitts as well. And I think that if really the Bengals really wanted to go for a weapon for Joe Burrow, I think Kyle Pitts is the answer for him. And I think that Kyle Pitts might be the most versatile player coming out of this draft class, and he'll be so talented at the next level. He can catch the ball, he can run the ball, and he's a big player, and I just think that he's going to make big plays in the NFL. And I think that if they wanted to go for a star player with the 5th overall pick, it would have to be Kyle Pitts. But I think that Penei Sewell would be better down the road and longer. Former Tennessee Titans defensive end Jadeveon Clowney has gone public about why he did not fit in with the Tennessee Titans team. He blamed it on the defensive scheme, and he signed with the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns, they're taking a big risk on signing Jadeveon Clowney, but luckily they did not sign him to a multiple-year deal. They signed him to a $10 million deal, and I think that it's a one-year $10 million deal. I think that it's going to be more of a reward than it will be a risk. The worst thing that could happen is that they don't get their money's worth of him, which, it happens in the NFL. Not everyone can live up to the hype, and so many few people are successful in their NFL careers. But I do think if Jadeveon Clowney can stay healthy, I don't think he can get back to his prime. I just think he's suffered too many injuries for that to happen. But I think that he can definitely be an elite player for that pass rush and hopefully help that Browns team make a deep playoff push and hopefully get to the AFC Championship this year and get past the divisional round, unlike last year where they suffered a close loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Star defensive lineman for the Los Angeles Rams, Aaron Donald, has been accused of beating a man in a public setting in Pittsburgh. The accuser has dropped charges after Aaron Donald was found not guilty for assault. The accuser has also offered an apology to Aaron Donald. So great news for Rams fans. Aaron Donald, arguably the best player in the NFL. I think that there's a good case for it. He makes his teammates better with being double teamed, leaves other guys to make plays, and that defense is so good, and he's the leader of it. And I just think that he's so strong. We've seen videos of him literally chucking Ezekiel Elliott, who's strong himself, and it's just scary how strong Aaron Donald is and how quick he is. And I can't imagine being chased around by him. It would just be an absolute nightmare for quarterbacks on the opposing side of the ball. And luckily he won't be punished in any way due to being not guilty for the crime. So that's very good news for the Los Angeles Rams. Josh Dobbs is returning to the Pittsburgh Steelers on a one-year deal. Was drafted by them out of Tennessee, and then he was cut by them and is now back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So good news for Josh Dobbs. He'll be a third-string quarterback, most likely behind Dwayne Haskins and Ben Roethlisberger. All-time great kick returner Cordell Patterson has signed a one-year, $3 million deal with the Atlanta Falcons. The Seahawks signed veteran defensive lineman Aldon Smith, who's drafted by the 49ers, played for them for 4 years, then the Oakland Raiders at that time, and then this past year he played with the Cowboys for a single year. After the Browns signed Jadeveon Clowney, they have let go Sheldon Richardson, defensive lineman, freeing up $11 million in cap space. And it's just really a confusing move, in my opinion. I would think that they would want to add depth with Jadeveon Clowney, and maybe they bit off too much than they can chew, which might be the case with them releasing Sheldon Richardson. And I just think that maybe the lack of money was a problem for the Cleveland Browns, and we'll see who picks up Sheldon Richardson. But it's a really interesting move. I don't know if they should have really made the move for Jadeveon Clowney since they had to release Sheldon Richardson. Sheldon Richardson's younger and has not had as many injury problems as Jadeveon Clowney has had. Wide receiver Marquise Goodwin has signed a one-year deal with the Chicago Bears. Wide receiver Julian Edelman has retired after 3 Super Bowl championships, a one-time Super Bowl MVP, and a total of 620 receptions, 6,822 yards, 43 total touchdowns, and 12 legendary years. And do I think Julian Edelman is a Hall of Famer? Absolutely not. I have no hate towards Julian Edelman. He's a very nice guy outside of the football field, but I just think that his greatest stats are team stats like Super Bowl MVPs. Yes, he's had one of the greatest catches in the Super Bowl versus the Atlanta Falcons, but I don't think it is even close to the David Tyree helmet catch at all. That's just my opinion. It's a very hot topic right now. We'll see if Julian Edelman does get put into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm against it, but obviously I congratulate him on a great career. That will wrap it up for today's video. If you guys have not already, please leave a like down below, and thank you.